So we are launching into the month of October. It has been a crazy few months behind us now. A lot of questions coming in, both from fellow real estate agents as well as consumers. We've got all the numbers today. We're gonna break it down for you. We've got your October market update coming up today. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It is your Central Maine realtor, Nick Isgro with eXp Realty. And today we're gonna break it all down for you. There's a lot going on in the market right now. Some of it is some seasonality. Some of it is a little interesting. All of it combined together will paint the picture so we can try to guess where we're going over the next few months so that you can determine whether you're buying or selling, what positions you're going to take as you head into the market as the most prepared person out there. Now, before I get into that, I want to welcome you here to the channel. If you've never been here before, we cover all things real estate here in the state of Maine, but particularly right here in the Central Maine market. Now, if that's of interest to you or adds value to your process into buying or selling of homes, maybe you just like real estate, do me a favor. Go ahead and like this video, hit subscribe, knock that little alarm bell. You'll be notified every time we put out new content. All right, we're gonna start as always looking at the sales data, getting into the inventory, and then finally into pricing so we can paint the full picture. As always, I wanna put this reminder on the front end, don't look at just the individual number for the month. What we're focusing on here is trends. We're looking sometimes month over month, but oftentimes year over year to see if there is a change month over month. Does it make sense compared to where we were a year ago? So we wanna take this as a very holistic view, not just look at one statistic and try to draw some kind of conclusion. So with all that said, getting that out of the way, we're going to jump right in with sales data. And I want to start with new listings. New listings coming to the market. As you know, one of the biggest drivers of this market has been inventory numbers. Now, over the last few months, what do we see? We saw more new listings coming to market, fewer listings going under contract, resulting in an overall net increase in the active inventory. What's going on right now? Let's bring up new listings. New listings for the month, 178, big kind of drop over the last month. That said, not really surprising. If we look at last month, we had over 225. Looking year over year, we had 205 new listings last year at the same time here in the Kennebec County market. So this is a reduction. It's a reduction month over month. It's also a reduction year over year. That said, we do expect these new listings to start going down as we enter the month of September. Think about it. As we come out of August, people are finishing up their summer vacations, they're trying to get kids back in school. This first month back in school, especially if you're a family, you've got kids in sports, or maybe you just have a cyclical work cycle, it seems like September is one of the busiest months for everybody I talk to. Not surprising that there is a reduction. It is an annual trend. It is, however, more than we saw last year. So how's that going to affect overall inventory numbers? Well, that depends on what happened with how many homes we sold. Now, first we're going to look at pended listings, then we'll look at the sales. Pended listings, these are homes that went into escrow during the month. They have not made it out of escrow. So these are going to be likely closed sales during the month of October. So pended listings, bring it up right now, only 70 homes under contract or pended coming into the month of October. Now, not only is this a drop month over month, this is a huge drop year over year. Last year in the same month, we put 164 homes into escrow. This is less than half of that amount. Now, this is the number that has been driving a lot of the sales data. Let's face it, rates are up, buyers are backing off, not only seasonally, but also because of pricing. There's some market fatigue over the summer. There was lots and lots of competitive bids, multiple offer scenarios. Now rates have gone up. There's a lot of people saying, you know what? We're not in such a hurry. And anecdotally, I can tell you some of my own buyer clients are saying, you know what, if the right house comes on, let us know. Otherwise, we're not gonna be super aggressive right now. We're just kind of gonna sit on the sidelines a little bit until we see either a turnaround in the market or the exact right home comes on. Either way, whatever the reasoning is, this ought to have a big impact on inventory, because even though we put fewer homes on the market, this is a big drop in what's going into escrow, which without a lot of cash activity, which there may or may not be, that's going to translate into fewer closed sales during the month of October. That's going to be very interesting to see next month. Speaking of closed sales, let's bring up what happened during the last month so we can see as we're entering October what's going on. Sold listings 160. So yes, this is a reduction, not as extreme as we saw in the pended side, but this is also going to have an impact. Now, it's not a surprise to us because last month when we saw that number of homes going into escrow was less than we were expecting, the prediction was that means it's going to translate into fewer sales over the next month. So this is going to include those as well as any cash transactions that happen during the month. All of this leads us to say we should probably have an overall increase in the active inventory here in Kennebec County. Let's bring up the number now. Check this out. 333 active listings. So the math worked out, guys. We do have more homes in the market. Now, if you are a buyer in the market, this is certainly welcome news because you spent the summer looking for a home potentially, and there was just not a lot to look at, not a lot of choices. And every time it seemed like one came on that you loved, there was probably, 5 to 6 bids on that home. And it got really frustrating. This is starting to open up and give us a little bit of breathing room. Now, one thing I want to point out, and this is interesting here, look at the trend from last year. We're only off by a few houses. So while the minutia of how we got here was a little bit different than how we got here last year, remember, it was really last July and August that we first saw that slowdown as the interest rates spike, where we got that seasonal trend happening early. This year, it really came in right on time. However, inventory, all things being said, almost exactly the same as where we were a year ago. So until this changes, there may not be a lot of huge changes going forward. Now, when we get to pricing, you're going to see some interesting things there, but let's wrap this up right now. What's going on inventory? We're going to look at the inventory number in months of supply. If you have not been to this channel before, months of supply is if we were to not list any new homes on the market, we were to sell everything that we have right now, how long would it take for us to sell the current inventory on the market? Now, just as a yardstick to put some context around this number, 6 months of supply or more is considered a buyer's market, meaning buyers really are holding the reins. Less than 6 months of inventory on the market means it's still a seller's market. Bringing this number up here, no surprise, a little less than a month and a half of supply. Now, what's interesting here, if you look at this graph, this is where we were actually last December. December, typically one of the slowest months in real estate, at least here in Maine. You're in between the holidays, people are crazy, and that's always a time where we see that market slow down, we see the inventory numbers rise. That's happening here throughout the month of September as we enter October. Now, this is by no means to say that this is now all of a sudden a buyer's market, but it does mean that what we saw last spring as it really came out of the gates and it was an extreme seller's market, that might be changing a little bit, and we might need to change some expectations on both sides of the transactions as we move towards fall, depending on what happens now during the month of October. So now we've looked at the sales activity, we've looked at the inventory, I want to get to pricing, and we're going to break that down. Days on market, sale to list price ratio, and then we're going to look at the average median sales price here in Kennebec County. So days on market, we're going to jump right into that. That is the number of days a home sat on the market before going into escrow. Bringing it up, we're still at about 24, 25 days, just shy of 25 here on the market. So if you look at the numbers, this is actually not any different than what we saw over the last couple of months. So despite inventory rising, again, remember, it really only rose to about where we were a year ago. And now we're seeing a trend of we're not really adding a lot of days on market. Yes, it's more than 10 days or 14 days that we see in some of those extreme spring to summer scenarios. But looking at this trend line, it's been a pretty steady market. In fact, if we look over the last year, this is by no means anywhere near the longest average market time in the county. So if you're a seller out there and you were kind of looking at those inventory numbers and you were getting worried, saying, geez, what's going on? No, your home is not going to sit forever. Yes, there is a bit longer market time. And obviously, if we were to break this down into different price categories and different niche markets, that's going to change those numbers a bit too. But when we're looking at the general market, trying to identify trends, not much to say here as far as days on market. Now we're going to look at the sale to list price ratio. This is going to tell us a lot about what's really going on with pricing as the inventories have risen and as we've seen kind of this steady market time for the homes in the market. So this is, sale to list price ratio, how much of the asking price are sellers getting? Take a look at this, 99%. So if you're a seller, that's kind of great news. It means you're getting the majority of what you're asking for on the home. But as we look at trends and you're a buyer out there, what does this mean? Well, considering just last month it was over 100% and we haven't really seen this dip under the asking price in quite some time, it means that there is some negotiating room on the market. But here is a nuance that everybody needs to hear. The sale to original list price ratio is actually 97%. So what does that mean? It means that if sellers are getting 99% of what they're asking for, but they're getting 97% of what they originally are asking for, it means that price drops are happening in the market right now. So here's the conclusion from this. Even though it seems like there's some stability in the market, as we're seeing fewer homes go under contract, and now we're seeing some price reductions, it means that sellers are starting to say, you know what, maybe we were shooting for the moon a little too much. This is not the summer market. This is not the spring market. We've got to bring our price in line because maybe agents and sellers were just shooting for the moon a little too much, expecting those numbers to continue to tick up, when really we're kind of coming into this different fall market where there's going to be some more negotiating happening. Now, as always, I want to end this with median sold price. I like to look at the sold price so we can see what's actually happening in the market now as compared to list prices, which sometimes really don't matter statistically. What I want to know is what are homes selling for here in Kennebec County, bringing it up right now, $282,000. Definitely a jump from where we were a year ago, but as I've been saying month after month, look at the trend line, a little up, little down, not much happening here, a lot of stability in the pricing. So that is it for the numbers that I have right now. What are the conclusions that we are to draw from all of what we're seeing here as we go into the fall market? We're seeing that buyers in general are stepping back from the market a little bit. There is some seasonality to that, but there's also some market fatigue and there's higher interest rates that frankly people are just not adjusting to as fast as we might like them to. Last year, it took us from August into January before that happened, and we don't really know where rates are going. I'm guessing they might bump up even a little bit more before we see any kind of decline over the coming year. The other conclusion we want to draw from that too is that while there is a lot of price stability in the market, if you're listing your home right now, do not shoot for the moon. And I say this even in a good market, but in general, more important now than ever that you price your home correctly. Not only do you want to do the comps of what has been sold, but look at what your current active inventory is in your niche market. That is your competition. Look at where that is and price your home accordingly so that it shows value to the consumer. Buyers always recognize value when they see it. It doesn't mean you're pricing low, it means you're pricing more closely to an accurate market value. If you do that, you're a lot less likely to see those price reductions on the tail end of your transaction. In essence, more of the same, very stable. However, if you're a seller, take it easy. If you're a buyer, less competition out there for you. Higher inventories could be a great time to get out there right now and negotiate on the home that you're looking for. Now, that is it. That's what I have for you guys today. What are your thoughts? What are your opinions? More importantly, what are your predictions? Drop a comment below. Would love to hear from you there. Of course, if you are looking for a real estate agent to navigate you through this market, or maybe you just want to jam out on some ideas that you have to see if the timing is or is not right for you, shoot me a note, give me a call. All of my contact information is linked in the post below. Would love to hear from you. Of course, as always, I appreciate each and every one of you sticking around to the end of this video. And until the next one, I'll see you next time.